Okay, so student loans have just been reinstated. So we had a 3-year pause for a little bit, and now they're saying you gotta pay it back. So people who went to college, went for an education, who tried to do the right thing, what a good citizen would do, which is get educated, they are now going to have hundreds of dollars to pay every single month for the rest of their life. They'll never be able to pay it off because there's interest, meaning you're being used, usury. You are a permanent slave, even if you, so let's say you take out a $100,000 loan. And then over time, you pay off the $100,000. But you still gotta pay off the interest. You have another $30,000 worth of interest to pay off. And then you try to pay that off. And then by the time you pay it off, you have even more interest. So is this really about paying off your debt? Or is this about using people, using our nation's youth as an endless supply of wealth for those at the top? So let's watch this news report.
Due again for federal student loan borrowers. Interest will be charged starting tomorrow after it was stopped in March of 2020 to help people during.
It should be stopped permanently. There's no reason to have interest on a freaking student loan payment. You know, whose idea was, how's that even ethical or legal? To say, yeah, I can basically add on a bunch of hidden costs to this debt, which will basically make you a permanent slave. If you pay off the $50,000 loan, I can still say, well, you owe this much in interest. And interest gets, the interest payment gets higher and higher and higher the longer, the more time passes. So you could be a good citizen, you can be a good debt repair, but it will never be enough because it's designed to be a permanent supply of income for those that gave you the loan. It's not designed to make you rich, it's designed to make them rich.
The pandemic. Ouija James looks at the White House and how they're trying to help.
Come on, let's walk. In Indianapolis, Erin Heffern and her husband are dreading the return of students.
Now these people are like 40 years old and they are dreading it. So imagine if you're like 20 years old and you have student loan payments to pay off. Do you think a freaking 20-year-old's gonna have like, let's say, $400 extra a month to pay off a student loan payment? Do you think anybody who is under the age of 30 is going to, yeah, let me just pull out an extra $400 every single month? No, they're not. The economy is literally incapable of allowing these people to pay off that amount of money every month. It's just not possible. That is the whole reason they deferred it in the first place. Now, has anything been fixed since then? Has anything been fixed since 3 years ago to limit the amount of stress that has been burdened itself on the lower classes, specifically the youth? No, nothing. No minimum wage increase. No sort of regulations on student loans. No sort of saying, hey, colleges, you can't make people sign a $100,000 loan because it's not ethical. No, they didn't say that. They're still making the same loans. They're still advertising these loans to like 16, 17, 18-year-olds and saying, hey, go to school. You don't want to work at McDonald's for the rest of your life, so go to school, sign this big freaking loan with high interest payments. And then once you do that, you'll be a millionaire, yay. And then they lie to people, they false advertise to people, and nobody cares. Yeah, let's just reinstate all the student debt. No. You will cause even more. Does anybody care about the hundreds of thousands of homeless people that are already on the streets? How are we not declaring a national emergency when it comes to the economy? The economy is in a national emergency. We are in a housing crisis. We're in a wage crisis. We're in an inequality crisis. We're in a healthcare crisis. Everything is in crisis, yet we're giving billions to Ukraine. Billions to Israel. Billions to all these other countries. But when it comes to our own country's youth, our own country's education, we can't come up with the money. No, we don't have the money. We can't possibly forgive this debt. But you can forgive the debts of other countries. You can give billions to other countries, non-citizens. You can give immigrants free housing, free food, free all this, but they can't give actual American citizens anything. Because we pay into taxes and we don't get anything from it. We don't get anything from paying taxes. We are the mule class. We just keep the system going. We empty our pockets for nothing because we don't get anything in return. And then, they just spend our money. The people up top spend our money. And if you don't like it, there's nothing you can do because who cares? Who cares about you? You slave? You're basically a slave. Basically, you have no rights. It's taxation without representation.
Student loan bills.
We lose sleep over it. It's like it takes so much out of us.
Together, they owe $116,000, which breaks down to payments of $1,500.
That's absolutely insane. That is insane. $1,500 a month for student loans? A $1,500 a month payment for a student loan for college. And the messed up thing is, they say, oh, you don't have to pay anything until after you graduate. So if you're in school, you don't have to pay anything. But once you graduate, they give you a 6-month time window to prepare yourself to start paying off these loans. And once you get your first payment, it's going to be through the roof. If they actually made you pay while you were in school, nobody would be able to finish school. Nobody would even think about taking out any more of that poisonous loan. So it's all deception. It's trickery to make you pay more in the end.
A month. During the pandemic, they got some relief.
It's really hard to even have a strategy because it's such a large portion of what we make.
For 39-year-old,
$1,500 a month is like somebody's rent. This is going to cause mass homelessness. This is going to cause mass foreclosure. Okay, but hey, it doesn't matter if like 50% of the middle class is wiped out, as long as the top 1% of people in this country can just hoard all the wealth. Everything will be successful. The economy's on the up and up. No. You know what? I want them to reinstate these loans because I know I won't be paying it. I'm not paying it. And you probably shouldn't too, because this is just ridiculous. If we keep paying into it, they keep squeezing us dry. Of course they're not going to forgive it. But if you say, no, I'm not paying this off, they're going to have no choice but to forgive it, because it will make the system look weak, having a debt payment that nobody's paying into.
Financial strain amounts to more than struggling to pay bills. It has impacted her goal to start a family.
Not having children has probably been the biggest choice that we've made because of our student loan.
So people are wondering, why isn't anybody having children? Maybe it's because all that money that could have been spent on actually having children is instead spent on student loan payments, on housing, basic necessities, healthcare, dentistry. All of that stuff is spent on just keeping yourself sustained. So of course nobody's gonna have children.
We can't live paycheck to paycheck and bring children into this world.
The couple is among 45 million Americans who have student loan debt, totaling $1.7 trillion.
$1.7 trillion. That's nothing. Now, if they really wanted to, at the snap of a finger, they could forgive it overnight. Don't let them tell you can't forgive it, because guess what? The day before 9/11, the Pentagon lost $2 trillion. $2 trillion overnight, unaccounted for money, and nothing happened. The world didn't end, the economy didn't implode, nothing happened. And I'm pretty sure where that money went. It went inside their pockets. So, but we can't do anything for the actual students in this country, the next generation. We can't do anything. Oh man, our hands are tied. No, it's not. It's just greed.
The Biden administration tried to deliver up to $20,000 of relief to millions of borrowers, but in June, the Supreme Court blocked the program with a 6-3 decision.
So the Supreme Court is utterly useless. Utterly useless. So yeah, massive payments of $100,000 a year, $100,000 loans, that's a-okay, but actually forgiving the loans, actually forgiving the debt, no, you can't do that. You can't do that. I'm like, come on, man. Come on, how can forgiving a debt be illegal? It's our tax money. How's that unconstitutional? We pay the taxes. We pay the taxes. How in the world can that be unconstitutional?
President Biden has vowed to keep fighting, feeling pressure from progressives in his party.
Under my new plan, reducing that payment to just 5% of your disposable income.
Under the president's SAVE plan, which will be fully...
That's not fixing the problem. Capping it at 5% while the interest accrues over time isn't fixing anything. Okay, this debt needs to be completely wiped out. You know, we have all this money for everything in the world. We have $2 trillion for an endless war on the other side of the country, on the other side of the planet, but we don't have $2 trillion to train our next generation of doctors, next generation of lawyers, next generation of engineers, next generation of artists. We don't have any money for that. So what's going to happen is this is going to be the dumbest generation ever, because people are going to be afraid to go to school. People are going to be afraid of spending their lives being a debt slave, and people are just going to forego traditional education. And if I could not see myself recommending college to anybody unless you have the money. Unless you have rich parents, you can go to college. But if you're just a regular guy who just wants to get an education, I would not go, because you most likely will spend the rest of your life being a debt slave to and attached to this system, which is what they want.
Implemented by next summer, interest will not accumulate as long as borrowers make their monthly payments. Those will be based on income and family size. More than 1 million low-income borrowers will qualify for a $0 monthly payment.
It's a game changer for a lot of people who are in student loan debt.
Michelle Singletary is a personal finance columnist for The Washington Post.
People look at how...
So notice how they're incentivizing people to be in poverty. They're saying you can only get $0 a month in payment if you're below the poverty line. So if you make even $1 above that amount, then you'll have to pay your student loans again. So a lot of people are just going to say, okay, I can't make this much money because then I get my student loan payments back and I start having to pay. So I'm just going to make sure I make only, let's say, what was it, like $15,000 a year, and I can't make any more than that because otherwise I'll have to pay back my student loans. So a lot of people are just going to artificially remain below the poverty line in order to not get that bill every month. And that's not fixing the problem. That's not fixing it at all. We need it wiped out, and we need to put a cap on how much colleges can charge for tuition. We need to have a real assessment of how much profit they are making from each student compared to the value they are actually giving.
How much they owe. They get discouraged and they just get paralyzed. If you are not sure you have enough money, call your loan servicer. Figure out the right payment plan for you and take action. I'm telling you, this debt will haunt you for decades. So call and see what is possible.
Where's this way, bud?
Heffern was holding out hope for loan forgiveness. Now she's grappling with reality.
I don't think I don't think that we'll ever get any relief from it. Well, I think we'll take these loans to our graves, unfortunately.
So, of course, it's not designed for you to pay it off. I mean, everybody knows that. Everybody knows somebody's like 60 years old who's still trying to pay off their student loan payments because it's not designed for you to pay it off. Again, as I said before, the interest accrues over time. You pay into it, you pay into it, you pay into it, and then it just refills itself. So you're constantly trying to empty out all that debt, but it just keeps on refilling. Is that fair? Is that fair to pay $1 million into something that was originally $100,000? Let's say you buy a $1 cheeseburger, and that $1 cheeseburger has a hidden 50% interest rate. So you forget about it. 2 weeks goes by, you had to pay $100. Then you're like, oh shoot, I don't have $100. The next week goes by, you have to pay $1,000. So yeah, there's no limitations on this. They can just write some bogus debt, some bogus bill, and you will have to pay it off in the end. So what do you guys think? Do you guys think are you guys paying off your student loan payments? Would you even be able to pay off your student loan payments? What do you think the solution to this is?